Hi everyone, this is Koinzell here. As you can see from this big helmet over here, we're going to talk about Gilded Dreams today, and specifically for Yae. So I'm going to do an artifact comparison by adding in Gilded Dreams into the single Dendro AggraSpread comp, the dual DPS AggraSpread comp, as well as the EC comp that we have done way back when Yae was first released. And I'll talk about what are the stats, etc. that are involved in the comparison, so that we see within each comp itself how is Gilded Dreams performance and whether or not it's worth switching the artifact. Okay, so before we start, the three comps are all, like I said, it's all based on the previous team comps. So please refer to Yae series for the respective comps and details on their rotations, ER requirements, assumption made, etc. There is one updated assumption though. Now my Q aggravates are assumed to be 4x instead of 2x since Yae's Q has no ICD. Okay. So if you remember my assumption previously, I just assumed standard ICD throughout. Yeah. Alright, so let's talk about Gilded Dreams itself. This is the new artifact set. We have already seen this in the official live stream. So 2-piece effect is very straightforward. It's an ATEM boost, similar to the 2-piece effect from Wanderers. The 4-piece effect is where it gets interesting. Basically, within 8 seconds of triggering an elemental reaction, you get a buff. And the buff will be determined based on the elemental type of your other party members in your team. So basically, for every character that is the same as yours, you get a 14% attack. So effectively, it's like if you have a battery, there will be 14% attack. And your EM is increased by 15 for every party member with different elemental type. So imagine in a comp, in either of all these comps, actually, we always have an electro battery, right? So basically, 4GD for Yae will always be 14% attack plus 100 EM plus ATEM. The ATEM is the 2-piece effect, 100 EM is 2 of this. Because the buffs count up to 3 characters and can be triggered once every 8 seconds, so you can get 100% uptime on this. And it can be triggered off field, which is very important. Okay, if it can't be triggered off field, then it's useless for Yae. So basically, 14% attack plus 180 EM and 180 EM with Yae's EM scaling is 27% damage boost for her E only, because her Q doesn't get any EM scaling. So obviously for her E, she gets 27% damage boost and 40% attack, versus if you use a set like 2TF with 2 of a 18% attack artifacts, because there's so many now. I can't just say 2 Glads or Shime, because you still have Echoes and Vermilion, right? So we are talking about 15% damage for her Q and E and 80% attack throughout versus 27% damage boost for her E only and 14% attack. So GD gives her more damage for E, lesser on Q. So let's see from math how it works out in terms of overall damage. And obviously we will include the reactions as well. No change from that. And the reactions are all based on the previous math. Okay. So before I go further, I just want to take a look at the different artifact permutations that's used, because this time around I'm going to omit the actual. Wait. Let me just double check. Okay, I have the actual, but I don't really want to go through them because the actual is really for my own usage per se. So let's look at the stats first. So you have my actual here. Okay, this is the same as what I've covered previously. This is the 2 Glads, 2 Shime math. So you see that crit stats are lower, but the attack is better, basically. Okay, the attack is better. And 2TF, 2 Glads with EM sense and attack sense, basically. Obviously, the Glads and Shime can be replaced with 2-piece Echoes or 2-piece Vermilion, yeah? And you have 4GD here. So the stats for 4GD is very, very similar. With attack sense, it's pretty much the same as the 2TF, 2 Glads Shime. That's how we can do a fair comparison, right? You see that the attack is slightly lower because for 18% attack versus 14% attack, yeah? Okay, so EM obviously we have factored E in, the 180 boost. These are the EM values. Okay, ER is still 116.8. Alright, now let's look at the overall damage. Oh, right. One important thing I wanted to state is that, at least for the purpose of the math, right? you'll notice that the EM value for the EM sense with 2 TF2 glads is pretty much the same as the 4GD. The difference is only 13 EM. Okay, so I'm not going to do one more set of the reaction damage. To simplify things, I will just use the 647 for 4GD as well, at least for reaction damage. For EM scaling, it will be following the 660. Okay, the difference will not be big because of if you know how the EM scaling is like for aggravate, right? It's actually even flatter than transformative reactions. Okay, so at that level of EM, that 13 EM is really not going to make too big of a difference. All right. Okay, so these are the damage figures and the DPS figures. You'll see that. First off, you'll see that my actual figures are slightly higher. It's 1.16 million. Here's the 1.15, which is to be expected because we have increased the number of Q aggravates. Okay, I just wanted to call this out in case you guys see the difference. Now let's talk about the actual comparison for GD. Let's look at this. Sorry. So as can be seen, right? GD, this is all comparing against GD, and you see that none of them are better than GD. Okay, it's all red. So GD Gilded Dreams has the best performance for Yae's damage in this team in all scenarios. And remember, my actual 2 TF2 clads are actually very well rolled crit stats wise, if you saw earlier, although the attack is lower. Thus, the difference is smaller. You have like 1 to 4%. But the fact that 4GD still performs better by 1 to 4%, even with 5 artifact upgrades gone bad, is pretty impressive. Remember, my math is always assuming that you have 5 artifact upgrades gone bad in total. That's like 1 per artifact. It's actually very well rolled already. And yet my Yae, my actual 2 TF2 glad has even better than that. It's basically, I think there are no artifact upgrades that gone wrong, but the base stats are not as ideal, which is the reason why my attack is lower. If I didn't remember wrongly, okay? So if we are to make a fair comparison, it will be versus the 2 TF2 glads, or 2 attack percent, 80% attack sense math, which is here. And you can see that 4GD is 6 to 7% better. EN sense is obviously the worst given Yae's high attack multipliers. But I'll just throw it in here so that you guys will see. It's not worthwhile using EN sense on Yae. Okay? Even with the reactions thrown in, because you already have high enough EM with from all the other buffs. Okay, so that is for the single Dendro. Okay, single Dendro without Tighnari. It's Yae, Kole, Raiden, Sucrose, or Kazuha. Either is fine. Sorry. So for artifact comparison, so for the next comp, we will do Yae, Kole, Dori, Tighnari, which is a dual DPS AggraSpread, which is basically the math guide 2. We have done the damage figures for Tighnari and Yae both. So now we'll do an update one for Yae with 4 Gilded Dreams. So as that same artifact and stats permutation applied across the 3 cons for comparison. Whatever I showed earlier, it holds for this as well. I did the same. So here you see this is the damage and the DPS. Same thing for the actual, is slightly higher. And now looking at the difference percentage, you'll see that Gilded Dreams still the best, right? In fact, versus the math, it's 6 to 8% better. Okay, so it's pretty much similar to Yae single Dendro comp. Now, FYI, if you're wondering why my 2 TF2 glad actual is worse than 2 TF2 glad math now, it's because of the lower attack coupled with losing Sucrose/Kazuha buffs. The Q figures on actual are now being lower than the math. So without Sucrose and Kazuha's buff and along with the lower attack, right? And not to mention Sucrose giving you that 48% TTODS or Kazuha giving you attack buff from Freedom so on, we lose so much on the Q damage that the 2 TF2 glad with a lower attack is actually worse off than the 2 TF2 glad math. Okay, so that's one thing to consider with regards to the buffs. But when you are doing a comp like this, you can't really afford to do the buffs. Okay, you can't. There's no way to slot what do you call that, Sucrose or a animal buffer in. Unless you want to drop Kole. But if you drop Kole, then you reduce your aggravates on Yae, so not a good trade-off per se. Alright, but anyway, that's that. At least you guys, I hope you guys can understand, right? When it comes to stats permutation, right, it's always a balance between attack and buffs and damage percentage. So in this case, because the attack dropped so much, the Q got affected. Because remember, EM scaling is only on E and don't have enough damage on Q. Damage percentage. Alright, so that's for the dual DPS comp. Okay, but the end result is pretty much the same. It's still 6 to 8% better versus 7 to 8% better where for 4GD. Yeah. Now, artifact comparison for Yae, Raiden, Kokomi, Kazuha. This is the EC comp. So there's exact same stats permutation applied as well, which means that I have actually gone back to update my EC comp math. I've actually improved the EC comp math figures. Now the main reason is this, okay? Original math for Yae EC comp assumes 150 ER since I had not started energy math back then. Now we are going with 115 to 120, or to be exact 116.8. But this also means that if your Yae needs more ER in your EC comp, if your Yae right now already has higher ER, obviously the figures for Yae EC will be lower. And also for more accurate comparison relative to EC comp, I will use 4 Thunder Silver instead of 2 TF 280% attack to compare. So we will compare 4 TS versus 4 GD. Because if you are using her in Electro Charge comp, you should be using 4 TS. Talent levels are also kept as per the original math for simplification. Because changing the stats for me is very easy. Everything, I have a template created for all the formulas to be updated correctly. But for talent levels, I have to manually update the actual talent level percentage. So yeah. So bear in mind, right now the figures that you will see next are actually higher than from my original math because the ER have been reduced. If your ER is able to be reduced because you don't have Raiden or you don't have like Zori with 2S for Volnius plus her own energy regen, then yeah, obviously the EC damage is not going to be as high. Okay. So 4TS versus 4GD, these are the figures. This is pretty decent. Yeah, it's pretty decent. But you notice they look kind of similar, right? And it's really the case. Basically, 4TS is very, very slightly better than 4GD. With only one permutation where it's slightly lower. But it's not even a fair one because it's not the 1/12 of permutation. Or base level 199. So, end of the day, the conclusion is very simple. If you have a well-rolled 4TS, just stick with it for Yae and EC comp if that's your preferred comp for her instead of AggraSpread. Simple as that. Okay? This is for the EC comp. Now I will do a TLDR, and the TLDR I'll talk about the conclusion about farming for Gilded Dreams, whether you need to give Gilded Dreams to Yae. So it's very, very straightforward. In single Dendro AggraSpread comp, 4GD performs better than 2TF 218% attack for Yae by 6 to 7%, assuming equally well-rolled artifacts. In Yae Tighnari AggraSpread comp, the dual DPS comp, 4GD performs better than 2TF 218% attack for Yae by 6 to 8%. And this is assuming equally well-rolled artifacts again. Okay, basically throughout the artifact comparison, it will always be equally well-rolled artifacts, yeah? Now, in the Yae EC comp with Raiden, Kokomi, Kazuha, yes, this is not cheap comp. 4TS is 0 to 1% better than 4GD, which means it's pretty much the same. Okay, so you have one where 4GD is 6 to 7% better, 6 to 8% better on the other, and pretty much the same on the other. So to conclude, for Dendro comps, it's worth giving 4GD to Yae if you can get equal or better artifacts than your existing 2TF to 18% attack, because you will be farming for 4GD anyway to get DM pieces for your Dendro characters and for your Bloomcon or whatever the case is. Now, of course, future characters may make better use of 4GD, but we don't know until their kit is released. But what this also means is that you should not use your existing 2TF 218% attack to level some other artifacts. I mean, just in case you're thinking of doing that, don't do that, keep them. Yeah? So for EC comp, you can stay using 4TS. I wouldn't recommend using 4GD because, especially if you have a good 4TS set, and 4TS is very niche, you don't really have many people that can use it. other than EC comps, really, and on the electro character, preferably. So yeah, just stick with the 4TS if you're sticking with EC comp. If you're not sticking with EC comp, you're doing Dendro comp, then yeah. If you can get 4 GDs, artifacts that are better than your existing 2 TF2, 18% attack, go for it, man. Alright? But keep your 2 TF2, 18% attack in case future Sumeru characters requires 4 GD. Then you can swap around. Alright. So that's my Yae artifact comparison. It's fast one. So Tighnari artifact comparison will be coming next, and then the bloom comps. I'll probably do like general one to talk about all the different bloom comps, and I'll see if I'm able to do one math guide. Do help me decide which bloom comp to do. I realize that everyone is choosing ultimate mass. You guys trying to kill me because I can tell you for ultimate mass, right? It's way too many reactions. I'm not going to go into the deal on exactly which reaction happens at which time, because that's way too much math, because that involves doing even the gauge unit theory math. I'm not doing that. Okay, so if I do ultimate mass, it will be just a equal distribution assumption, i.e. I assume that there's an equal distribution of all the different reactions that will happen, because when you do the ultimate mass, basically all types of reactions can happen other than cryo related reactions and geo related. Yeah, well, anyway, geo related is just crystallized. So yep, that's that. So if you guys really want me to do ultimate mass, just know that it will really just be a for fun thing. I will not go deep behind the math for it. Now, more importantly, I also want to cover the Tighnari weapons and Tighnari constellation refinement comparison before 3.0 is out. Story Math Guide 1, I actually have it ready, but I decided not to do the video first until maybe the dust settles for the first half of 3.0. Okay? Because I don't have much time, so let's focus on Tighnari and AggraSpread. So I hope this video has been helpful to you guys. Let me know in comments if there's any other specific math. But time is very limited right now. It's only 1 week before 3.0. I don't really have much room to maneuver with regards to the remaining videos, yeah? But anyway, if you like the content, remember like video and click subscribe for more. Bye.